Good morning, everyone. So my name's Hannah Lucas. I'm the Programme Manager for the Perinatal Quality Network. I'm delighted to welcome you all to this live event. So this is the first in a series of webinars that we're planning to put on over the coming weeks and months to support perinatal services across the country, possibly beyond, during this difficult time. So for anyone not familiar with the network, we sit within the Royal College of Psychiatrists and set standards of care for inpatient and community perinatal services. Then we work with our members to identify examples of good practice and any areas for improvement. As part of this, we normally offer a series of events and networking opportunities. So in the absence of face-to-face contact, the aim of these webinars is basically to provide a bit of a space where teams can share experiences and discuss new ways of working. So before I hand you over to Hayley, who will be leading today's session, I've just got a couple of quick housekeeping bits to go through. So this is a live event, so everyone's microphone and camera will be turned off for the duration. The webinar will be recorded and we'll be uploading this onto the CCQI webinars webpage in the next few days. If you have any questions at all that you want to ask Hayley, then please use the chat function, which should be coming up on your screen, and you can vote for any questions that you want answered the most. And you can also use the chat box to let us know if you would like any specific topics covered in future webinars at all. So now I'm going to hand over to Hayley Grainger. So Hayley's the Nursery Nurse team leader up in Birmingham. She's also part of our PQN advisory group, and she'll be talking about navigating the COVID-19 risk and worries in a perinatal setting and the possible impacts it might have on the mother and her baby. So over to Hayley.
So hi everyone. So as we've mentioned, we're going to be having a little look at navigating the COVID-19 risk. And the aims of the session today will include, if we can go to the next slide, Hannah. Addressing some of the perinatal nursery nurses' concerns, the impact of COVID-19 on the mother, to highlight some of the impact of COVID-19 on the infant, to navigate some of the worries around COVID-19 and to look at supporting mums at a social distance and just briefly look at how we look after ourselves. Next slide, please. So just thinking about some of the potential concerns of the perinatal nursery nurse. These might include, next slide please, Hannah. Face-to-face contact being quite limited on MBUs or not existing at all if we're working within the community. Difficulty engaging with mothers on the telephone or via video call platforms. Difficulties in the ability to make a sound assessment of the mother-infant interaction or observing the mother-infant interaction. Challenges in providing therapeutic interventions from a social distance. We also know that access to interventions such as psychology and so forth might be limited at this time. Thinking about the impact of COVID-19 on the infant, thinking about the referrals that we receive, they might be less, they might be more. Thinking about how we discharge back into the community from an MBU, and there might be several more. Next slide, please, Hannah. So we know that COVID-19 is affecting people all around the world, and it's making the mums that we care for quite stressed, worried, anxious, including ourselves. And I think at this time we need to be thinking about how we adapt or change our practice to continue to meet the needs of the mother and infant and to promote infant mental health. Next slide, please. So what might the possible impact of COVID-19 be on the mother? This might include additional anxiety and stress in addition to their current mental health state. So mothers might be feeling a bit more overwhelmed than usual, they might be worrying more, they might feel more irritable and restless, they might be struggling to make decisions that they usually would be able to make, and they might have racing thoughts. It's not limited to these things, but just these are a few things that might be going on for them at the moment. In addition to this, mothers might be feeling quite lonely, seeing people that they normally would. They might not be seeing family and friends as they typically would. You know, that notion it takes a village to raise a baby. That village might be quite absent with the isolation and the lockdown at present. Mums might be feeling quite bored, they're not being able to go out and see family and friends, do usual mother and baby activities, things for themselves, and it might lead them to feel quite frustrated. So not having that me time, not having maybe time away from parenting, you know, it can all lead to frustration. In addition to these things, it might create worries about finances, paying their mortgage, getting food on the table for their baby, thinking about things like child benefits and housing. It might also lead to worries about their own health, their infant's health, and particularly around the COVID-19. They might be grieving for the loss of a loved one. They've not been able to say goodbye, maybe in the same way that they would typically. And they might have concerns about their infant's development, particularly if they're, you know, more housebound, they're not accessing the clinics, they're not accessing the baby groups. But there might be a catalogue of other things that are going on for them as well. Next slide, please, Hannah. So what might the impact be for the infant? So if a mother is admitted to an MBU, they might be separated from their father, and the father could have been the primary caregiver. They could have been separated from other siblings, other loved ones who were also heavily involved in their care. On an MBU, they might be confined to their bedroom or limited communal areas, and they might not be able to have that close physical contact that they would usually have with other people. And we know that babies thrive on close physical contact and seek that close proximity with loved ones. And they may also not be able to attend groups and sessions that they would normally do. So this can all make a baby feel stressed and anxious. You know, it's a stressful and anxiety provoking time for us, but how might it present itself for the infant? So we know that they can't express themselves the way that we do, but they might express themselves through being a bit more clingy than usual, wanting more attention. For the older baby, they might be having more frequent temper tantrums. They could be restless, having difficulties getting off to sleep, staying asleep, waking through the night, or they might be having feeding difficulties as well. So why might the infant be a bit more demanding at this time, particularly in light of the COVID-19? So we know that babies will often pick up on their parents' emotions, and we know that at this time parents' emotions are likely to be more increased, more anxiety will be shining through, and it can often make a baby feel insecure. We need mums to be a bit mindful and keep an eye on their emotions at this time, because when babies feel insecure, what it does is it releases cortisol levels and it can trigger their attachment system, and it's designed to keep them safe. So when this is triggered, what babies tend to do is try and get as close to their parent as possible. And if a parent can't comfort and make the baby feel secure, they'll continue to seek parental contact in any way possible. This can make mums feel frustrated, it can make parents feel frustrated, but we know that it's really important that mums just take a step back, try and breathe, maybe put their baby in a safe place, try and calm themselves and go back to their baby when they feel ready. And what we know is that when a mum can respond as quickly and sensitively to their baby's needs as possible, it can release oxytocin for the baby, and this can deactivate the attachment system and make the baby feel quite secure. So how do we navigate some of these concerns for the mother? So for mothers feeling lonely, try and encourage her to think about ways that she can connect with that village of family and social network, and it might be through telephone calls, through WhatsApp, through Zoom. Some mums might even prefer writing letters and going the old-fashioned way. Things like finances and housing, I won't go through all these, but here's just a list of different websites and things that we can signpost mums to if they're concerned about financing or housing, particularly at this time of the COVID-19. Things like child benefits. Actually, we know at the moment that people can still claim for child benefits even if they haven't registered their baby's birth. All they need to do is, if you look at the information on the slides, download the benefit form and just make a note to say that they haven't registered their baby because of the COVID-19, and they should be able to process things the usual way. So if they've got health concerns, if we're meeting mums at their homes, on the ward, over the telephone, we need to check in with them to make sure that they are taking their medication, that they've got enough of their medication, that if they're concerned about their mental health, that we are signposting them to their professionals that are involved, their care coordinator, maybe their GP, getting them to reflect on what their care plan states. And also for us to be having conversations with them around their infant's health. So we know that things like baby clinics might not be happening at the moment. They're not seeing their health visitor in the usual way. So for us to have that opportunity to have conversations with the mother about how she feels her infant is, feeding, wet nappies, all of those, I guess, typical health related questions. So concerns about infant's development. So if we are thinking that there's any concerns about infant's development, or mums are, it's really important that we take the time just to listen to them, listen to what the concerns of the mother are, what she may have, reassure her that the temporary cancellation of baby clinics, it is just that, it is temporary, and you know, the government are working hard to get things back and running as quickly as possible. It's important that we provide accurate and timely information to mothers around any concerns or around any health related information for babies at this time. If we're permitted to do home visits, it might be that we weigh babies, measure babies, and kind of maybe take that health visitor role for the time being and feed back to their own health visitors. If babies are remitted to the ward, again, we can weigh and measure babies, have contact with the health visitors in the normal way as well. In addition to this, if we have still got concerns, or mums have still got concerns, we can do things like ages and stages development questionnaires or social and emotional questionnaires with them. We can always pop them out in the post to mums. We can arrange a time to call them back so we can discuss what these results look like and what it means for the baby's development and their social and emotional needs. On the ward, we can do it with them face to face, which might be a little bit easier. If any mums that we're working with antenatal, at the moment the Solihull approach are offering a free online antenatal course, so that could be something that you can refer them to in the email, the websites on there. For mums who are working, are residing on the ward at the moment, it might be that we need to offer them a bit of time out. So thinking about the needs of the mother, the needs of the infant. If mums are feeling that at the moment they're struggling with things like play and stimulation, maybe offering that mum some time out so that we can provide that for the infant as well. If mums are at home and they've got somebody that they can rely on or have some support from, getting them to, you know, step in and offer that relevant play and interaction with the baby. If we're still concerned, obviously refer to the health visitor and the GP. But if we're able to do so, thinking outside of the box and offering activities such as treasure baskets and activity packs. So we can do this if we're working with mums on the ward. We can offer activity packs to maybe people in the community if we can deliver them. We just need to be mindful that we're following infection control procedures so that we're able to clean all the resources. But activity packs could include things like scarves, puppets, books, musical instruments, things that will keep mums and babies, you know, entertained. And we can also have a list of ways that we use these resources as well. So how do we promote the mother-infant relationship at this time? Again, I guess it's nothing that we would necessarily do differently, but we need to encourage mums to have that physical, close contact with babies. So as we mentioned, you know, babies will be seeking lots of close physical contact if they're uncertain, or if they're feeling anxious, or if they're feeling stressed. And we can do this by encouraging mums to cuddle their babies. You know, we can't spoil babies, contrary to belief. Stroking baby's skin, helping to release oxytocin. Using slings so that mums can have close physical contact but be able to still feel a bit of freedom, a bit of movement. And baby massage is another key one there. So thinking about playing interaction, singing nursery rhymes is a really good one to think about there. We know that the use of singing can also alleviate some of the symptoms of depression, so that's another positive reason why we could be using songs. Stories is another good one as well. Mums don't have to think about what to say, what to do, it's all kind of scripted, it's all there. Dancing gently and swaying to music with their baby. Activities such as messy play, hand and footprints, using shredded paper, custard, anything that will get them being creative. And going out for walks. We know that behavioural activation is really important at this time, trying to get out in the fresh air, particularly if people are living in confined spaces. Just getting out and talking about what they're seeing can be really important. So we know that at the moment use of PPE is quite high within clinical areas, out in the community, and we know that this can actually have a negative impact on baby, particularly as baby's not able to see mouths, and we know that babies are learning lots through seeing mouths and learning how to speak and gaining some reassurance from that. So what we need to be thinking about is using our eyes, you know, as a real important means of communication, smiling with our eyes, ensuring that our tone of voice is offering reassurance to the baby, encouraging mothers to smile at their baby, and showing books and stories where faces are visible and there are lots of smiles. So just going to have a quick mention about feeding at this time, because I know some mums have queried about breastfeeding and bottle feeding at this time. Currently, the World Health Organization has stated that there is no research to suggest that COVID-19 is passed through breast milk, that actually we should still be actively encouraging mums who want to and who are able to breastfeed and providing that relevant information to enable them to do that. Promoting close physical contact and skin to skin is really important, and thinking about things such as kangaroo care. And if mums are showing signs of COVID-19 and wishing to self-isolate, it might be helpful to express breast milk at this time. So what does the World Health Organization advise for women that are breastfeeding and still continue to do so but may have some worries? If they think that they've got COVID-19, then they should wear masks when feeding, avoid things such as coughing and sneezing on the baby, regularly washing their hands before and after feeding and handling their baby, and disinfecting all their touch points as well. If a mother has tested positive for COVID-19 and she's too unwell to breastfeed, the World Health Organization suggests that a mother should restart relactation as soon as possible. Conversations may happen before about things such as wet nursing or accessing donor human milk. I've just got a website there and a contact number for people if they want any further information around feeding during this COVID-19 time. So formula feeding, we need to encourage mums to continue to follow Department of Health guidelines, in particular with preparation to feeds and sterilisation. Again, you know, cleaning touch points, wearing masks if mums are showing symptoms of COVID-19, washing hands before and after, responsive feeding for both breast and bottle feeding, but also that we are limiting the amount of people that are bottle feeding a baby, particularly for staff working on an MBU. Here's to the tricky one, how we support mothers at a social distance. So when face-to-face contact can happen, so this might be on the ward or it might be that you are doing home visits, ask how things are going with the baby. You know, how is she finding motherhood? How is she finding this transition into motherhood at this really difficult time? Spend some time observing the interaction between mum and baby and explore some of her thoughts and feelings around being a mum. And it might be that she's saying to you that things feel fine, but they might not look fine. So we need to kind of be naming that with her and kind of providing some feedback as to what we're observing. Discuss any concerns that mothers may have or that we may have and look at ways to manage these, thinking about the wider MDT as well, getting them involved and thinking about other people's ability to support the mother and baby. I think it's really important at this time to get her to think about something that she has achieved rather than thinking about all the things that she hasn't achieved, and provide some positive reinforcement for her. Role modelling, that's another really important thing, but we don't want to overdo it. We don't want the mum to feel that, you know, she will never be able to sing nursery rhymes or share stories to the, you know, to-da way that us nursery nurses can do it. And providing interventions such as VIG, baby massage or singing sessions. So we know that at the moment face-to-face contact may be absent, particularly for nursery nurses working within the community. There can be different ways, different platforms that we can use at the moment to have that contact with mums. Telephone contact, yes, but there might be things like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, but what you'll need to do is just check in with your trust as to what you are able to use before accessing other platforms. And it might be also an option to post out information to mums as well. So observing and assessing the mother-infant interaction via telephone. Actually, what we know is it's going to be pretty much impossible to do any observations over a telephone call. But again, as what we would do with the face-to-face, we need to be checking in with mums, finding out how she's doing, finding out how she's transitioning to motherhood, how baby's doing, how their relationship's going, exploring her thoughts and feelings towards baby, discussing any concerns that she might have and ways that you can manage these. If you are concerned and there's a partner present, it might be that you have a chat with the partner to get their feedback on how mum's doing and how baby's doing. You might be able to provide interventions such as watch, wait and wonder. So you might want to put mum onto loudspeaker and get her to follow the principles of just watching her baby, taking the initiatives of the baby and leading from their baby, and just get a bit of feedback from that. Again, we want to be focusing on positive reinforcement, thinking about what she has achieved and kind of sending some positivity that we know that she's doing the best that she can do at this difficult time. So thinking about video calling now, again, checking in with mum, how are things going? How is she finding motherhood? But we are able to do a bit more observing during this time. So try and get her to be with her baby whilst you're doing your video call, thinking about how the relationship looks, you know, from your point of view, and providing feedback on that. Having a little scan of the environment. What does the environment look like? Does it look supportive? Providing interventions such as baby massage, VIG, singing sessions, which you can all use on the platforms such as Microsoft Teams. Get her to think about something positive that she's achieved. Again, it's all about, you know, we're doing our best at this difficult time, and send some positivity as well and offer her that reassurance that you are there. So I guess just really briefly looking after ourselves, it's a really difficult time. I know we're all doing the best that we can possibly do. But it's really important that we are making sure that our caseload is manageable. We know that referrals may have drifted off, so it might be looking at how can we get more referrals in, how can we support mothers at this difficult time, but making sure it is manageable. Being involved in MDT discussions, whether that be via Microsoft Teams or in person. Accessing management supervision for us, just checking in with how things are going from a management point of view, and clinical supervision, having that space to think about emotionally how we're supporting mums and supporting ourselves. Recognising when we're feeling stressed, when things feel a bit too much for us, taking a step back, having some me time, being kind and compassionate to ourselves, but also looking after each other. So again, when we talk about it takes a village to raise a baby, it takes a village to, you know, raise a perinatal team. So I guess all that I just want to say is thank you for taking the time to listen to me today while the sun's shining and it's nice and hot. I think you're all doing an amazing job and you're all heroes. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Hayley. Everyone can hear me twice, it's a bit of echo. We've had a few questions come in, if you're happy to answer them. First of all, a few people were saying that it was quite difficult to read the slides just from the way we've presented it. Are you happy for us to share these with anyone who's attended?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's brilliant, thank you. So a couple of questions about the activity packs that you talked about. So someone's asked, they've said they sound like a great idea, but who's purchasing the equipment, funding, etc. And then someone else said, where could I get some of these if I wanted them?
I guess funding would come from your own individual trust. It might be that you have resources if you're working on a ward that you can kind of take from. If you've got a crush, you might be able to fill some bags with books and rattles and different things. But it would definitely be something, a conversation that you'd need to have with your line manager, most definitely.
And where can teams access them if they wanted to purchase any?
There aren't actually bags that are specifically made up for this age. There are some for older babies, but my suggestion would be to have a look on things like Amazon, where you can order lots of drawstring bags. You'd be able to access looking at different resources such as books and rattles that you might be able to buy in bulk. Bookstart as well, if you can access Bookstart in your area. Mums may not have had their Bookstart packs, so if you can try and get your hands on some of those, maybe linking it with a health visitor, that could be something that you could share with mums on the ward or within the community.
Thank you. Someone's asked, how do you suggest we have physical contact with the baby during the hot weather if cuddling might make them too heated?
Oh gosh, wow, I think we need to be thinking about the environment first of all. If temperatures are too hot, do we need to think about getting fans into MBU wards, trying to find shaded areas? Oh gosh, that's a bit of a tricky one. If anyone else has got any suggestions, please, please by all means share.
I should have said we can put all of these questions up on our KnowledgeHub, which I'll mention again in a minute. So if anyone does have anything that they want to share or add, then please do. And last question for Hayley is, how do we get hold of equipment for weighing and measuring babies?
Weighing and measuring babies equipment, again, this would have to be issued through the trust, looking at the NHS online ordering, having a chat with your manager. I think it's really useful to have a set of scales and measuring mats in any team really, particularly as we know that some mums find it quite difficult to go out to their own baby clinic, so there might be missed opportunities for babies to be weighed and measured. But again, have a chat with your line manager, who should be able to signpost you where you can be able to access these from.
I said last question, but we've had a few more trickling in at the last minute. So if you're all right to go through them, Hayley, then I will. Could you say a bit more about Watch, Wait and Wonder, please?
Yeah, so Watch, Wait and Wonder is an intervention where literally it is what it says on the tin. It's an intervention used for mums to really take their baby's initiative. So what we want mums to do is just take a step back and just observe their baby. What is it they're noticing about their baby, and responding to the infant when the infant signals a readiness for this. And then getting mums to wonder and think about what it is that the baby is thinking and what the baby is doing, and really trying to put themselves in the shoes of the infant and trying to see the world through the infant's eyes.
Thank you. Someone said our community team does not weigh babies. I wonder if you have any guidance with regards to this, as I know in the past my line manager has not permitted it.
Well, unfortunately, currently there aren't specific guidelines for nursery nurses, I guess, working in perinatal services within the community or the MBU, and that is something that we're currently looking at creating. Whilst I acknowledge that, you know, we don't want to be taking over the role of the health visitor, we also don't want infants to be missing opportunities where they can be weighed and measured. So I do think it's something that we need to explore, I think, nationally as a service.
And do you have any suggestions to help us return to the community, as we're nursery nurses in our trust have currently been redeployed? We've emailed and met with managers to try and express how important our role is in the community, even if it is virtual contact.
I mean, ideally you're still accessing your MDT team meetings, and that you are having a space to find out about the women that are coming into your service. I think it's really important that you are able to have time for suggestions about how you can meet the needs of the mother and baby. I think even just having telephone contact with mums at this difficult time is really important. But I definitely think that you should still be involved in MDT team meetings, regardless if you've been redeployed or not. I don't know if that's answered the question. I don't think I really have.
Again, if anyone has anything they want to add to any of these questions, then we'll be posting them up on the KnowledgeHub. And one last question, Hayley. Schools aren't using books as they can't be cleaned well enough, so surely we shouldn't be passing equipment between houses if they can't be cleaned properly. What do you think?
I think with lots of equipment, yeah, absolutely. Things like hardback books are more easily cleaned. And you can also get wipeable books as well. So it might be that you look at using those. Typically, that's what we use on our MBU for infection control reasons, because we can't clean paper ones. And that's why I kind of mentioned about making sure that any resources that we do use, we are able to follow infection control procedures.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Hayley, for all your time. So we have a platform called KnowledgeHub. I think we have a slide about it coming up. There we go. So you can sign up and join our COVID-19 Mental Health Improvement Network for free on KnowledgeHub, where you can keep track of any conversations around COVID-19 in different mental health settings. We will also be posting this video on the CCQI website, so we'll be sharing that via perinatal chat and via Twitter. If you're interested in presenting a webinar for us, please do get in touch, and equally if you have any suggestions for future topics, then let us know, but we'll be posting this shortly and we hope you found it useful. Have a good day and stay safe.